Some of the most important battles in life are never announced. They are fought in silence. Within you, life will disappoint you. People will misunderstand you. Dreams will be delayed. But hear this carefully. Your value was never decided by their opinion. There comes a moment when you stop explaining yourself, stop begging for understanding, and start working quietly on the purpose placed inside you. Silence is not weakness. Silence is discipline. Silence is when God prepares you for the next level. Today is not about proving anything to anyone. Today is about discovering who you are, focusing on your assignment, and becoming the person you were created to be. When you focus on yourself, stay faithful and remain silent, your life will speak louder than your words ever could. There are seasons in life when silence becomes your greatest teacher. Not because you have nothing to say, but because life itself is speaking louder than words. Many people misunderstand silence. They think silence is weakness, defeat, or surrender. But silence is often the language of maturity. Silence is what happens when a person begins to understand that not every pain deserves an explanation, and not every misunderstanding requires a response. There is a kind of sadness that is not destructive, but constructive, a quiet heaviness that does not break you, but builds you. And this sadness carries a lesson that noise can never teach. When life forces you into silence, it is not trying to erase you, it is trying to shape you. Most people talk too much because they are afraid of being alone with their thoughts. They fear silence because silence exposes truth. Silence reveals intention. Silence removes distraction. When you are silent, you begin to hear what you have been avoiding. You begin to confront the person you really are. Not the image you project, not the role you play, but the core of your being. Silence strips you of applause, validation, and external approval, leaving you face to face with your purpose. That is why silence feels uncomfortable at first. It is not empty, it is full of answers. There is a sadness that comes when you realize that people you expected to understand you never will. This realization does not come with drama. It comes quietly. It comes when you stop explaining your intentions. It comes when you stop defending your heart. It comes when you accept that some people only know the version of you that benefits them. This sadness is good because it frees you from expectation. It releases you from emotional dependency. It teaches you that your growth does not require their permission. Silence becomes necessary when words are wasted. When you explain yourself repeatedly and still feel unseen, silence becomes wisdom. When you speak truth and it is twisted, silence becomes protection. When your intentions are pure but constantly questioned, silence becomes strength. There is power in withholding your voice until your life becomes the explanation. A focused life does not argue. A focused life moves. A focused life develops. A focused life produces results that words never could. Many people confuse being quiet with being inactive. Silence does not mean you stop working. Silence means you stop announcing your work. It means you stop broadcasting your plans to people who are not assigned to your future. There are seasons when your dreams must be hidden, not because they are weak, but because they are still forming. Just as a seed grows underground before it ever breaks the surface, your purpose develops in places no one applauds. Noise disrupts development. Silence protects it. There is a sadness that comes when life does not turn out the way you imagined, when prayers take longer to answer, when effort does not immediately produce reward, when faith is tested by delay. This sadness is not meant to destroy your hope. It is meant to purify it. It removes entitlement. It removes pride. It removes the illusion that success owes you something. Silence in this season teaches patience. It teaches endurance. It teaches discipline. It teaches you how to keep moving without clapping for yourself. Focus is born in silence. When distractions fade, clarity emerges. When opinions grow quiet, direction becomes clear. Focus requires separation. You cannot focus while trying to impress everyone. You cannot focus while constantly reacting to criticism. You cannot focus while living for approval. Silence helps you detach from unnecessary voices so you can attach to purpose. When you stop talking, you start seeing. When you stop explaining, you start understanding. When you stop reacting, you start leading your own life. There are moments when life intentionally isolates you. Friends grow distant. Conversations feel shallow. Invitations decrease. this is not always rejection. Sometimes it is preparation. Isolation reveals what noise hides. It shows you what you truly value. It exposes what you depend on emotionally. It teaches you self-leadership. Silence in isolation is not abandonment. It is alignment. It is the process of recalibrating your identity so that your confidence is no longer borrowed from people, but rooted in purpose. Good sadness teaches you emotional intelligence. It teaches you that not every feeling needs to be shared. Not every thought needs to be expressed. Not every emotion needs an audience. Some battles are too sacred for public discussion. Some lessons are too deep for casual conversation. Silence preserves the weight of your journey. It keeps your story from being cheapened by people who will never understand its cost. There is discipline in silence. It requires control. It requires restraint. It requires trust. Trust that your consistency will speak. Trust that your integrity will be noticed. Trust that your work will be revealed at the right time. Silence is not passive. It is active waiting. It is focused preparation. It is internal alignment. It is choosing growth over validation. Many people speak prematurely. They announce what they have not yet become. They declare victories they have not yet earned. Silence protects you from premature exposure. It allows you to mature privately. It gives you time to develop character strong enough to handle visibility. Because visibility without maturity is dangerous. Attention without discipline is destructive. Silence builds the foundation that public success stands on. There is sadness in realizing that some people only celebrated your potential but cannot handle your progress. This realization hurts, but it also clarifies. It shows you who was attached to your weakness and who is aligned with your growth. Silence allows this separation to happen naturally. You do not need to confront everyone. Distance speaks. Change speaks. Growth speaks. When you focus on yourself in silence, you begin to notice patterns. You see how distractions drained your energy. You see how unnecessary conversations delayed your progress. You see how emotional reactions stole your peace. Silence brings awareness. Awareness brings correction. Correction brings growth. Growth brings fulfillment. There is a strength that develops when you stop defending yourself. Defending drains energy. Explaining exhausts purpose. Silence conserves power. It allows you to invest your energy where it matters. It allows you to build rather than argue. It allows you to move forward rather than remain stuck in emotional cycles. Good sadness teaches humility. It reminds you that you are still becoming, that you are still learning, that you do not have all the answers. Silence keeps you teachable. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you open to instruction. Pride speaks loudly. Purpose listens carefully. There are times when your silence will be misunderstood. People will assume arrogance. They will assume weakness. They will assume guilt. Let them assume. Silence is not about controlling perception. It is about protecting direction. Your assignment does not require universal understanding. It requires personal obedience. When you stay silent, you begin to master self-control. You learn when to speak and when to withhold. You learn that timing matters more than volume. You learn that wisdom is not in saying everything you know, but in knowing when to say nothing at all. This mastery separates leaders from followers. Leaders do not react. They respond when the time is right. Sad seasons teach you how to stand alone without becoming bitter. Silence keeps bitterness from spreading. It keeps resentment from poisoning your spirit. It gives you space to heal properly. Healing does not happen in noise. Healing requires stillness. Healing requires honesty. Healing requires time. Focus sharpens in silence. When you are no longer distracted by opinions, you become intentional with your actions. Every step has meaning. Every decision has direction. Silence removes confusion. It aligns your effort with your purpose. It teaches you to invest in what matters and release what does not. There is a quiet confidence that develops when you stop seeking approval. This confidence is not loud, it is stable, it is rooted, it does not need to be announced, it is visible in consistency, it is visible in discipline, it is visible in restraint. Silence teaches you that your worth is not measured by how often you are heard, but by how deeply you are grounded. It reminds you that value is internal before it is external, that identity is discovered, not assigned, that purpose is lived, not declared. In silence, you learn to trust the process. You learn to trust timing. You learn to trust growth you cannot yet see. You learn that delay is not denial, that waiting is not wasting, that preparation is happening even when progress feels slow. Good sadness softens your heart without weakening your resolve. It makes you compassionate without making you fragile. It deepens your understanding of people while strengthening your boundaries. Silence helps you love without losing yourself. There are lessons only silence can teach. Lessons about patience, lessons about endurance, lessons about identity, lessons about purpose. Noise interrupts these lessons. Distraction delays them. Silence accelerates them. When you embrace silence, you sink RP rushing outcomes. You stop forcing connections. You stop chasing recognition. You allow life to unfold with intention. You allow growth to mature naturally. You allow purpose to reveal itself in time. Silence trains you to be internally led rather than externally influenced. It strengthens your inner compass. It helps you make decisions based on conviction rather than pressure. It teaches you to move with clarity rather than urgency. There is peace in silence that chaos cannot touch. A peace that does not depend on circumstances. A peace rooted in alignment. A peace born from knowing who you are and where you are going. This peace is developed, not discovered. It is built through focus, discipline, and restraint. When you focus on yourself in silence, you begin to live intentionally. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop being available to everything and start being committed to what matters. You stop leaking energy and start building momentum. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of purpose. It is the space where clarity forms. It is the environment where vision matures. It is the discipline that prepares you for responsibility. Good sadness reminds you that growth costs something. It costs comfort. It costs familiarity. It costs validation. Silence helps you pay this cost willingly, knowing that what is being built within you is worth more than what you are giving up. In silence, you learn to observe rather than react. Observation brings understanding. Understanding brings wisdom. Wisdom brings effective action. Silence turns information into insight. There is a maturity that develops when you no longer need to announce your pain, when you no longer need sympathy to survive, when you no longer need attention to feel significant. Silence strengthens your emotional independence. Focus requires sacrifice. Silence makes that say, "Krifis possible." It removes unnecessary attachments. It clears emotional clutter. It sharpens intention. There are times when silence is the loudest statement you can make, when your refusal to engage speaks more clearly than words, when your calm response exposes chaos, when your consistency contradicts doubt. Good sadness grounds you. It keeps you from becoming shallow. It deepens your perspective. It strengthens your empathy. Silence allows this depth to form. When you stay silent, you begin to see life differently. You stop rushing answers. You stop forcing clarity. You allow understanding to come naturally. Silence is not retreat. It is regrouping. It is recalibration. It is realignment. Focus in silence builds inner authority. Authority that does not need permission. Authority that does not seek validation. Authority that comes from knowing your assignment. There is power in knowing when not to speak. Power in choosing restraint. Power in protecting your peace. Silence teaches you to value substance over appearance, depth over popularity, purpose over performance. Good sadness strips away illusions. It reveals truth. It clarifies direction. Silence allows you to accept this truth without resistance. When you focus on yourself quietly, you become dangerous to distractions. You become immune to manipulation. You become stable in uncertainty. Silence is where confidence is forged, not the confidence that shouts, but the confidence that stands. In silence, you stop asking who understands you and start asking who you are becoming. Silence is the training ground for destiny. Silence is preparation, not punishment. Focus is the ability to give your life to one direction without apologizing for what you ignore. Most people never discover their purpose, not because it is hidden, but because their attention is scattered. Purpose does not reveal itself to distracted minds. It responds to discipline. It responds to consistency. It responds to a person who decides that not everything deserves access to their time, energy, and emotions. When focus is absent, effort is wasted. When focus is present, even small actions become powerful. Many people confuse movement with progress. They are busy but not effective. They are active but not aligned. Focus is what turns activity into intention. Without focus, you chase everything and complete nothing. With focus, you may do fewer things, but what you do carries weight. Purpose requires concentration. It demands that you say no to good things so you can say yes to the right thing. There is sadness in realizing how much time was lost trying to please everyone. This sadness is good because it wakes you up. It shows you that approval is expensive. It costs clarity. It costs momentum. It costs identity. Focus begins the moment you stop living for reactions and start living for direction. When you focus, you stop asking who is watching and start asking where you are going. Purpose does not shout, it whispers. It speaks through patterns, through recurring passions, through consistent burdens. Noise drowns this voice. Distraction silences it. Focus creates the environment where purpose can be heard. When you reduce external noise, internal clarity increases. When you limit distractions, direction becomes visible. Focus requires emotional maturity. You must learn to detach from unnecessary drama. You must learn to stop reacting to every comment, every opinion, every misunderstanding. Emotional reactions scatter focus. Purpose requires emotional control. When emotions lead, direction suffers. Focus teaches you to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. There is a painful awareness that comes when you realize that not everyone can go where you are going. This awareness brings loneliness, but it also brings clarity. Focus naturally creates separation, not because you think you are better, but because your priorities are different. Purpose-driven people cannot afford to be everywhere. Their energy is too valuable. Many people want purpose without discipline. They want clarity without sacrifice. Focus demands both. It demands routine. It demands structure. It demands consistency when motivation fades. Purpose is not discovered in moments of excitement, but in seasons of commitment. Focus keeps you steady when emotions fluctuate. When you focus on yourself, you begin to see your weaknesses clearly. Focus exposes what needs development. It reveals gaps in character, skill, and thinking. This exposure can be uncomfortable. It produces a quiet sadness, but that sadness is productive. It invites growth rather than denial. Purpose requires honesty. Focus forces you to confront reality. Purpose grows where attention is sustained. What you consistently think about shapes who you become. What you repeatedly give your energy to defines your future. Focus is the decision to invest in what matters even when it is not immediately rewarding. Purpose is long-term. Distraction is short-term. There is grief in letting go of old versions of yourself, versions that were liked, accepted, and comfortable. Focus demands transformation. It demands that you release habits that no longer serve your future. This release hurts, but it also heals. Purpose cannot coexist with everything from your past. Focus helps you choose what stays and what must go. Focus sharpens identity. When distractions fade, you stop copying others. You stop comparing paths. You stop measuring progress by someone else's timeline. Purpose is personal. Focus helps you honor your own pace without guilt. It reminds you that growth is not a competition. Many people delay purpose by waiting for perfect conditions. Focus teaches you to work with what you have. Purpose responds to obedience, not convenience. Focus keeps you moving, even when clarity is incomplete. Direction becomes clearer as you walk, not before you move. There is strength in narrowing your vision. When you stop trying to master everything, you begin to develop depth. Purpose is found in depth, not variety. Focus allows you to go deep enough to become effective. Shallow attention produces shallow results. Focus protects you from burnout. When you know what matters, you stop wasting energy. You stop overcommitting. You stop carrying responsibilities that are not yours. Purpose brings peace because it simplifies life. Focus removes unnecessary weight. There is a sadness that comes when you realize how often you betrayed your own priorities to accommodate others. This sadness is instructive. It teaches boundaries. It teaches self-respect. Focus grows when you honor your time as valuable. Purpose requires stewardship of energy. When you focus, you become selective with information. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. Not every trend deserves your attention. Purpose requires mental discipline. Focus guards your thoughts because thoughts shape direction. Focus creates consistency. Consistency creates mastery. Mastery creates confidence. Confidence strengthens purpose. This process is quiet. It does not attract immediate applause. It requires patience. It requires faith in unseen results. There is maturity in staying committed when progress is slow. Focus keeps you grounded during delay. Purpose is often developed in obscurity. Focus allows you to keep working without recognition. It teaches you to value growth over visibility. Purpose is strengthened by repetition. Doing the same right thing again and again builds capacity. Focus keeps you from quitting too early. Distraction convinces you that change equals progress. Focus reminds you that persistence produces results. When you focus on yourself, you begin to lead your own life. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for permission. Purpose thrives in responsibility. Focus shifts your mindset from victim to steward. Focus brings order. It organizes priorities. It clarifies decisions. Purpose requires structure. Chaos confuses direction. Focus simplifies choices by aligning them with intention. There is peace in knowing what you are called to do and what you are not. Focus gives you permission to decline without guilt. Purpose is protected by clarity. Focus removes the pressure to be everything. Purpose is not found by chasing success. It is revealed through service, consistency, and alignment. Focus keeps you faithful to the process rather than obsessed with outcomes. When distractions decrease, self-awareness increases. Focus allows you to evaluate your motives honestly. Purpose requires pure intention. Focus exposes hidden agendas and corrects them. Focus strengthens resilience. When setbacks come, you do not quit because you know why you started. Purpose anchors perseverance. Focus reminds you that obstacles are part of refinement. There is dignity in quiet commitment. Focused people do not need constant affirmation. Their confidence is internal. Purpose does not depend on applause. Focus trains you to value progress over perfection. Purpose grows through improvement, not flawlessness. Focus keeps you moving despite imperfections. When you focus, you stop chasing validation. You stop needing others to agree with your vision. Purpose becomes personal rather than performative. Focus helps you recognize opportunities aligned with your direction. Purpose sharpens discernment. Not every opportunity is an assignment. There is strength in consistency. Focus produces reliability. Purpose trusts those who are dependable. Focus removes emotional noise. It clears confusion. Purpose becomes easier to recognize when the mind is disciplined. When you focus on yourself, growth becomes intentional. Purpose stops being accidental. Focus is not isolation, it is alignment. Purpose is born where attention remains. Focus gives birth to purpose. Sadness teaches honesty. It does not allow you to pretend. It confronts you with your fears, insecurities, and unresolved wounds. Identity requires truth. Without truth, growth becomes performance. Sad seasons pull you out of pretending and into becoming. In these seasons, you stop competing. Comparison loses meaning. You are too tired to impress, too aware to pretend. This exhaustion is not weakness. It is transition. You are shedding an identity that was sustained by effort rather than alignment. Sad seasons refine emotional maturity. You learn that emotions are indicators, not dictators. You feel deeply, but you do not collapse. You ache, but you do not abandon yourself. This balance builds inner strength. Identity becomes stable when emotions are acknowledged but not allowed to lead. There is a loneliness that comes in sad seasons, not because people disappear, but because connection feels different. You no longer resonate with everyone. This loneliness is not rejection, it is refinement. Identity sharpens when you are no longer emotionally available to everyone. Sad seasons teach you boundaries. You realize how much of yourself you gave away trying to be needed, how often you overextended to feel valuable. Sadness pulls you back inward. It teaches you to protect your energy. Identity grows when you learn where you end and others begin. When sadness is embraced rather than resisted, it becomes instructive. It teaches patience. It teaches endurance. It teaches self-compassion. Identity deepens when you learn how to sit with discomfort without running from yourself. In sad seasons, faith is tested quietly, not through dramatic failure, but through delay, through unanswered questions, through silence. This silence is refining trust. Identity matures when belief is no longer emotional but anchored. Sadness removes urgency. It slows your pace. It forces reflection. Identity requires reflection. Without reflection, life becomes reaction. Sad seasons interrupt reaction and invite intention. There is grief in letting go of old dreams that no longer fit. This grief is necessary. Identity cannot expand while clinging to outdated visions. Sadness helps you mourn what will never be so you can make room for what must become. Sad seasons expose inner dialogue. What you say to yourself in quiet moments reveals how you see yourself. Refinement begins when that dialogue is corrected. Identity strengthens when self-talk becomes intentional rather than automatic. In sadness, you become aware of your resilience. You realize you can carry weight without breaking. You can endure silence without losing direction. This awareness builds quiet confidence. Identity rooted in resilience does not seek attention. Sad seasons teach humility. You recognize your limitations. You accept help. You release control. Identity becomes healthy when pride is replaced with awareness. There is a stripping that happens in sadness. Titles lose importance. Image loses power. What remains is essence. Identity is essence, not appearance. Sadness removes what is artificial. You begin to see life with depth. You understand pain differently. You listen better. You judge less. Identity becomes compassionate without becoming weak. Sad seasons refine discernment. You see motives clearly. You recognize patterns. Identity strengthens when awareness increases. There is growth in learning to be present with pain without allowing it to define you. Sadness becomes a visitor, not a ruler. Identity remains intact. Sad seasons teach gratitude without excitement, appreciation without celebration. This quiet gratitude is mature. Identity grows when joy is no longer dependent on circumstances. Sadness, you learn to sit with unanswered questions. Identity becomes comfortable with Mr. Not everything needs immediate clarity. Sad seasons create depth. Depth creates wisdom. Wisdom shapes identity. You stop seeking constant reassurance. You trust yourself more. Identity becomes internal. Sadness teaches you that strength does not always look loud. Sometimes it looks like consistency, like showing up quietly, like not giving up. In sad seasons, you stop romanticizing the future and start grounding yourself in the present. Identity becomes real, not imagined. Sadness matures your expectations. You stop expecting perfection from people. Identity becomes stable when expectations are realistic. You learn that healing is not linear. Identity develops through patience. Sad seasons slow your speech. You speak less, listen more. Identity sharpens in silence. You begin to value meaning over excitement, depth over entertainment. Identity aligns with substance. Sadness reveals what truly matters. Everything else fades. Identity is refined when comfort is removed. Sad seasons are not detours. They are classrooms. Sad seasons refine identity.